Welcome back to Wealth Builders. Today we have Jessie Lang. Jessie's going to talk about what we usually talk about, money stories and how we get to where we are and thinking about money. Welcome to the show, Jessie.
Hi, thanks, Felicia. Thanks for having me.
Jessie's in Columbus, Ohio. And before we came on, we were talking about Ohio and how my negative opinion of Ohio. However, Jessie was telling me Columbus, Ohio is a lot like, go ahead.
Austin, Texans. I was born and raised in Austin, y'all. And I'm telling you, Columbus is really cool. We have very liberal, young, hip, educated population, tons of activities. Yes, they're seasonal because it gets pretty cold, but no traffic. We don't have traffic. And it's great. It's a great, easy cost of living, cool people, fun stuff to do.
I was going to say, and Ohio probably has a lower cost of living than probably a lot of places in Texas and a lot of places. People from California, of course, moved to Texas for some reason, but think about it. Like maybe it's a weather thing.
Everyone's coming to the Midwest.
Crowded. Texas is getting crowded.
Yeah,
So,
Texas is done.
I don't know if it's done yet, but got to improve their utility grid, whatever. Anyway, we'll get into all that stuff later. So, Jessie, I start the conversation with everybody kind of the same way. Tell me your money story. How did you start out thinking about money and how did you get to where you are today? And I'll fill in the gaps as you skip them because we all forget how we got to where we are.
Yeah. So it's a great question. And I don't have a straight path to get here, definitely. And I wouldn't even say I'm at the end, anything like that. My money story is definitely evolving. But I started, like I said, I grew up in Austin and started with my parents. They bought our house, thankfully, when I was very young. And I lived in the same home for a majority of my childhood, which is fantastic and gave me a huge head start. But outside of that, there really was no financial planning or education or anything like that. They both had blue collar jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. We had food on the table, but not a lot more than that. But I saw that when you own your home, you can do what you want when you live there and you have appreciation and equity building. And I didn't quite understand that piece, but I knew it was a good financial move. And so I went to college, University of Texas. And so I didn't move far, but I did leave home and I studied business, like BBA, bachelor's of business.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like I picked that business management.
Back you up a little bit. I'm gonna back you up a little bit. You said we owned our house and I saw that it let you do what you want to do. What does that mean? It lets you do what you want to do.
So there never was a landlord banging at the door saying, we're selling, get out. Or we were a real big DIY family. And so we always had crazy projects going on at the house and we could do all those things because we owned it.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever live in a rental property where you had that experience of the landlord coming and knocking? And
I didn't. Okay. No, very blessed in that way.
Okay. Yeah. Did your parents talk to you about money or did you hear money conversations that you remember? That we don't have enough, or there's going to be, so many people have the scarcity mindset.
It was, your mother spends all my money. That was the conversation.
How did that hit you? Do you think about that or what that makes you?
Oh, she still does. So,
no, but how does it affect you? Does it make you feel that way about money? That you can't let somebody else spend your money, or how does that? About that?
Yeah, well, I consider myself pretty frugal, which as a real estate investor is, I think, a positive thing. I'm not going to overpay. I got to get a good deal on everything I buy, but it extends into my personal life as well. I'm always looking for a bargain. I'm always looking for the sale. My dad, he did do a really good job of actually sitting me down and talking. He would this is back in checkbook days when you weren't paying your bills online. There was no auto pay. He would sit me and my brother down as he wrote the checks. Okay. And he told us how much money he made. And he would do the calculations and subtract. We would see what's left. And we're like, oh no. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then he would say, your mom spent all the money.
Okay. All right. So you did have that checkbook experience and it was money, even though I still think of money as cash, but I don't know why. Cause when's the last thing you hardly ever have cash anymore? You Zelle, Cash App, whatever. Cash is not a thing anymore. Anyway, got it. And you went to college and you got a business degree. What made you do that? Is it just like, I'm supposed to go to college and I don't know what else to do? Or
100%. And I even chose bachelor's of business management because like your second, third year comes around and they're asking you to pick something specific. Do you want to do accounting, finance? And I was like, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what I want to do. What's the most general option? And so that's literally the one I went with because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then what happened?
So I graduated college and society says you get a job, buy a house, have kids, get married, like all these different things. And I definitely did not do all of
I
them.
just says get married and then have kids, but a lot of times this goes the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. So society says to do all these things, but I did not do many of them, but I did have the wherewithal to buy a little condo down in Austin in 2012, which was a great time to buy. It was $92,000, had shag carpet, yellow countertops, like grandma curtains. It had everything. And so I actually was living there for my partner at the time moved in and we had a spare bedroom. And I was like, I'm going to rent out this room. So we put it on Craigslist because it was even before Facebook Marketplace days, the good old Craigslist days. And I had roommates throughout my couple years living there where people were paying our rent. And
did you have a job?
I didn't have a job.
Okay, you were working. Yeah. And are you still in Austin?
At this point, still in Austin, yes.
And so why didn't you move back home with your parents? Why did you?
What? No, absolutely not. I was No. This is so funny. If you guys know anything about Texas universities, I was looking at University of Texas at Austin or Texas A&M, which are huge rivals. Okay. And I told my parents, I'm going to A&M because I didn't want to live at home. And they said, took a month or two to come around. And they're like, okay, if you stay in Texas, well, like you can live in the dorms. Like if you stay in Austin, you can live in the dorms. So I was like, yes, like I don't have to go to A&M.
Where are you in birth order? Are you the oldest?
Oldest.
Oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Okay. Got it. So you still in Austin, graduated, had your degree, got a job. It's like, I'm going to find something, not moving home. I got to find someplace to live.
Yeah.
And you decided to buy. Do you remember what your mindset was then as opposed to find someplace to live and let me rent it?
Well, I did. I rented through college because that's what you do. I moved every year. It was frustrating and expensive to do that. And I just knew, and I wish I had some like epiphany, but I just knew that rich people bought real estate.
Okay.
Literally, that was it. No role model other than us owning our own home growing up. No really role model saying, you should buy this property. I was just like, this is what wealthy people do. So let me get started now.
Okay. All right. Were you afraid?
Oh, yeah. I had my very first panic attack during this process of buying this house. And I spent, like, I say house, but it was a condo. I spent my life savings. I was waiting tables through college. I had my big girl job, which was not anything special. And I spent my life savings to buy this condo. And it was very stressful.
When you say your big girl job, how much money were you making? Do you remember?
So I want to say 32K.
Okay.
It came out whatever $12.50 a paycheck is.
Okay.
And I was so over the moon. Like I thought it was so much money.
I remember those days too.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you had your 30,000 a year job, your big girl job. If you're not watching, we air quoted big girl job, and decided you're not moving back home. I don't want to rent because I don't want to move every year. Because that was your experience. So you found this condo and you said you put your life savings in there. How much money had you saved?
We were maybe $3,000, $3,500 down.
Okay.
And that was FHA. The condo was $92,000.
Yep.
So with your closing costs, all that, it was not much.
Okay. So your life savings, $3,000, $4,000. You went in, you're all in. It had that place you really wanted to live as far as decoratively, aesthetically, It wasn't where you wanted to live. What made you decide to get a roommate? You had you and your partner were there. So you had two people already in this 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom.
It was a 3-bedroom.
Okay.
Yep. And we had a music studio in one of the rooms because we were just out of college and we were crazy. And then the other room, it was just spare. And I'm like, I have all this real estate and someone's going to pay me. I think the mortgage was like $850, $900, if
Okay.
that. And
Okay.
we had an HOA, of course. And I'm like, someone's going to pay me $500. And then my partner was paying as well. And so I'm like, I don't even have to pay a mortgage. Like, what? So I was just paying the bills for like years. I got away with this. I say got away with. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but like the plan worked. I made it up and the plan worked.
Yeah. Okay. And the roommate situation worked out fine. The person that you didn't know.
There's some bad ones, but there were overall some pretty good ones.
Okay. So nobody obviously killed you. Nobody
I'm still alive. Still standing.
Had to deal with people with personalities and
just the normal
that probably wasn't your kind of your cup of tea, but okay, they're paying me and I'm not paying a mortgage.
Correct.
Okay. How long did you stay there?
We were there about 3 or so years, a little under. And then my partner and I, we split. So I knew that it would be crazy to sell it because I had just bought it. We did do some DIY type renovation. So like it was a decent place at that point. We got rid of the shag carpet, all that.
Okay.
I knew that emotionally I didn't want to live there, that it would be a little too hard. And I knew that obviously I can't pay rent somewhere and then pay a mortgage that's vacant. So in the span of 2 weeks, I went from living like my everyday normal life to having 4 college boys, renting out my condo.
Okay.
And they were great. They actually turned out to be great residents. And
where did you move to?
So big fan of renting rooms. I was renting a room from a friend of mine.
Okay. All right. So you did rent at that point. It's like, I've got to get out of here. And then some of that was emotional as far as the breakup and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Let me get out of this place so I can heal from that situation.
And get it rented out and start making some money.
Nice.
Because I hadn't been paying a mortgage in 2.5 years at that point. And I didn't want to get hit with a mortgage overnight, like by myself. So just moved out.
That money coming in, or even knowing that you didn't have to pay a mortgage, you didn't have that $850 a month going out on your own. How did that impact how you worked as far as at your big girl job?
I didn't take my foot off the gas or anything like that. Okay. I've been a really hard worker in everything that I've done and really go above and beyond. So I was, of course, a star employee. And it's
a good thing. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. An overachiever. And so it didn't make me like lazy or complacent or anything like that. I knew that this is like very, very like baby step one in a much bigger path.
Okay. So at that point, were you thinking this is a path for you as far as rentals, or this is just a thing that's happening to me right now and I don't know what's going to happen? And just
totally.
Okay.
I went from, like I'm telling you, in 2 weeks, I was renting rooms, but we didn't have leases or anything. It was very informal. Okay. And then I went to having leases in place, like maintenance that I'm responsible for, all these different things. Like I was a housing provider, like essentially overnight. I was just figuring it all out myself.
What would you change now if you could about that situation?
That's a great question. I'm going to say nothing because it led me on a really good path. And also that was right out of college. Like you said, first child mentality. I think even if someone had come in and told me, hey, do this, this, and this, I wouldn't have listened. Okay. So I needed to do it myself. Like that was part of the process, was figuring it out myself. Now, I don't recommend that for everyone. I was young and the stakes were pretty low overall. So if you're looking to get into a deal for your very first time, the stakes are a lot higher today. So maybe don't do it the hard way. It took me a lot longer than it needed to.
And I'm going to say that even as a college student, graduated college student, you probably didn't think about the potential losses. And I think as we get older, we worry about the losses so much. And there's something to be said for first time doing something and just diving in the water. I'm either going to sink or swim. I don't think I'm going to die. Somebody's going to save me in the water. On land, when you jump into a real estate deal, you can lose all your money. 100% you can lose all your money. And you learn lessons, a lot of lessons when you lose all your money. I lost all my money, lost all our properties, 2008, 2009. And I realized it wasn't a real estate problem. That was a Felicia problem, not knowing what she was doing. So let's get back on the horse and figure that out.
Yeah.
the biggest thing I learned is that I could lose all my money and have a credit score of 500 and survive.
And come back.
That's huge. So, okay. How'd you get to Ohio?
Good question. So I had one long-term rental. I was renting a room that was very short-lived, a couple months. And I had saved up throughout these years. I saved up enough that I actually went out and bought another house that I lived in with roommates
In Austin.
Still in Austin. A year later, I bought another house that I lived in with roommates. I've moved many, many times.
Okay.
I lived in with roommates. I had 2 long-term rentals. So at this point, all the mortgages, all my bills, everything was paid. I was making $1,000 a month, easy, in cash flow, plus my big girl job, which I had improved my pay a little bit by that point. And
Okay.
so I was, I thought I was on top of the world. Like, well, what could go wrong? Figuring this out.
Sorry, I did ask that question, but I'm going to go back and ask, what were your parents saying to you as you were doing all of this?
I love them to death, but they haven't really haven't really told me what to do in a very long time. Like, even at this point, I moved out of the house and I was very independent. Like, they were like, cool, like, I'm glad it's working.
Okay. So they didn't have, because my parents were negative when I started doing real estate investing. And I'm going to say they were afraid for me, which is fine. But it can come across as you don't think I can do this kind of thing. And that's where I was going. It's like, did they talk about it at all? They just watched you do it. It's like, okay, well, good luck with that. And
They have always believed that I am going to succeed at whatever I put my mind to.
okay.
So they just were like, it's going to work. Like, whatever she's doing, it's going to work because it always has, and she's going to make it work.
Nice. Do you have brothers? You have brothers and sisters? You do, sister?
Yeah. Brother.
Was he in on it at all? Was he negative or was he positive, supportive?
No. Just to be fully transparent, he did pass away. And this was really it was in college. So this was all after college. So he has missed my real estate journey.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to hear that. All right. So parents neither were supportive, basically. They weren't next door. They weren't cheerleading. They just weren't pulling you back.
Yeah, like, they were like, she's going to do whatever she's going to do.
She'll be fine.
Yeah.
We tried to get her to do something before. And
she won't do it.
Let her do her thing. Good luck, honey. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're still in Austin. You've got 3 properties in Austin now?
We're up to, 3. And I live in the 3rd.
Okay. A condo, a single family that you lived in, renovated.
Another single
left, then got another one. Okay. And all this is from, how did you buy those? Did you
owner occupant financing? Because I was moving into it. So first was FHA and then 2 conventional.
Okay. So then down payments, all the usual stuff, and you're buying a house. Got it.
Yeah. I think the second down payment was $7,000 and the third, because time's passing, values are going up in Austin. I think the third maybe was $10K down, which I was saving a ton of money. I didn't have a mortgage payment. I didn't have rent.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
I hope some college students are listening to this who think they can't do this, but
totally possible, y'all.
Even today, this is possible because people are paying more in rent than $500. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ohio, Austin to Ohio.
Yep. So 2016 rolls around. I had been in my job for 4 years now. I knew that there was like so much more to life. And I was 28 at this point and had been in Austin my entire life. And I just knew there was more. So instead of taking real estate seriously, instead of like really focusing down, I quit my job. I got long-term renters and all 3 of the rentals. And I went to go travel the world for a year.
Okay.
And so that was 2016. I spent all of the year living in 12 countries for 1 month each. And yeah, it was great.
Exciting.
It was really fun.
Where'd you go?
So we spent 4 months in South America, 4 months in Europe, and 4 months in Asia.
Okay. And you weren't by yourself, it sounds like. There was
No, it was with a group. The program, they're out of business now, but it was called Remote Year.
Okay.
And we went, I think that now it's like Selena, maybe. So if anyone's listening, there's tons of programs that do this, but look up Remote Year. And we traveled with 75 other people.
Wow. So they found your housing and they did all that? Or okay.
Yep. So we had a monthly fee, and then the idea was it's called remote year. So everyone had remote jobs and we could work from anywhere. I did not really work. I was on we joked like team hangout, and I was able to do this with 3 long-term rentals, like
Right.
3 rentals, and I could go travel.
And I don't have to work.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the cost of living outside of the United States is much less expensive.
Different.
So,
A little
but
different.
yeah, and I got to really do everything I wanted to. I was not, I don't know, it was a fantastic year. And so that year I met my wife. I
Okay.
met the job that brought me to Columbus.
Okay.
The year was wrapping up. We're in like month 10, 11. And I'm like, oh, I should probably get a job. What I should have done is gone real estate full time, but I still didn't believe that I was a real estate investor. Like this wasn't even on my mind
I
that this
understand.
could be a career.
Yeah.
And so I got a job that happened to be in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
I literally Googled like how gay friendly and how dog friendly is the city, and the answers were good. So we're like, cool, let's go.
It's like my daughter. She lives in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so here you go to Columbus, Ohio, which is way different than Austin, Texas, but you stopped in several different countries along the way, which probably made it not quite as a shock to get to Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. So we on remote year, we're like, oh, month 3, month 5. And each one in my mind is kind of a separate thing because we're in a different place. And then so my wife and I, we were like, it's month 13. Basically, Columbus will be month 13. We're already in this travel mindset. If we don't like it, we'll just leave.
Go somewhere else.
We'll just get somewhere else.
I love it.
We owned basically nothing. Like what was on my bag. I had my car at my parents' house, my dog at my parents' house. So we like flew down, drove them up here, and that was it.
And you've been there for now how long?
That was 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 8 years now in Columbus, Ohio. And when did you start thinking of real estate as a business?
Still not for a while, unfortunately. So I made it about 18 months at that W-2 that brought me here. And it was great. I'm glad I did it. It got me to Columbus, which I've said I've never felt so much that I'm like at the right place at the right time. Like it just makes so much sense to be here right now with the real estate market and my skill set and the people and all that. So I'm glad that the job got me here, but it did slow me down a little bit. I will say, so this 18 months that I was working for someone else, I was going to real estate meetups. I was educating myself. I did some paid education. And the trigger point, I guess you could say, is I was up for a raise, my annual review, and I asked for a very, very modest raise. I left out that I was like certified project management professional and the job was in project management, and I was like paid a fraction of what that role, like what a PMP would be paid. I was paid a fraction, and I asked for an incredibly modest raise, and I was turned down. And it was, of course, not based on my performance. It was just in the budget, how that story goes. And so I gave them my notice, and with really not a whole lot of a plan, I went real estate full time.
Okay, time out.
Yeah.
I love this part so much. Okay. So you're there, you're working, you have a job that you're qualified to do. Guys, there's so many of us out here like this. We're working a job that we're very qualified to do, probably more qualified than some other people that are also doing the job, getting paid a fraction of the amount that you should be. And whether you could be making the amount of money you want to make. Let's just say you're making the amount of money you want to make, but there's somebody there who is not treating you the way you feel like you should be treated. You're not getting the respect you deserve. You're not getting the job you should be able to do. Something is not right. And if you have no other source of income, or if you're afraid you won't be able to figure it out, you will stay there and let the life be sucked out of you. I use those words specifically because that's how I felt in university for a long time. The life is being sucked out of me. I've got to get out of here. Fortunately, you had the real estate. How did your partner? Let's talk about partnerships, because those sometimes will hold you back. Was she at all worried about you quitting your job?
Okay. So you've heard the concept golden handcuffs. And
Yes, 100%.
if you're coming from like a medical background, you're in a totally different situation. I was making $45,000 a year, which like it's not great. And just frankly for my skill set. And so it was hard to walk away, but they didn't have handcuffs on me by any means. They weren't paying me near enough to be scared to leave.
I'm going to change it to you didn't let them have handcuffs on you.
Okay.
There are people not making the money they should be making, but they feel stuck because they're not open to realizing there's other ways to make money. At this point, because you talked about you were going to real estate investment conferences, real estate meetups. So at some point in there, it sounded like you started thinking about real estate as a money-making thing.
Well, I knew 3-year rentals let me go travel the world for a year. Like, hello, that's awesome. How do I do more of this?
Yes.
It took me that entire year of self-discovery and exploration to really figure out that's something I was interested in. I still, even after the year, was too afraid to take the plunge. But them telling me no to that raise, like it sounds so dramatic, but I can see myself to this day from above. I was like crying on my kitchen floor. And my wife, Laura, she walked in and she was like, babe, just quit. Like, quit. You will figure it out. You always figured it out. Just quit. And I went in the next day and I get my notice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. She was supportive. She wasn't scared. She's like, just do it.
No. And she's
watching you cry and be unhappy was probably harder for her than like quit the damn thing and figure it out.
Yeah.
What can you say about her? She's
an entrepreneur as well. She's a graphic designer and she had worked for herself for a long time. That's how we met on remote year because her job is remote. So if anything, I was holding our family back from travel because I had this dumb W-2 that she could go and work from Mexico City for a month. And here I am like, no, I got to go to work. And so she's like, babe, quit, please quit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard. I mean, this is a hard question because what if you had somebody who was like, what are we going to do if you quit your job? How would you probably wouldn't be married to somebody like that. So
it's not my vibe. We take risks and they're calculated, of course, but that we met on a travel program. It's like, we would have that similar mindset.
Okay. And she's entrepreneurial, which actually probably drove you a little bit more into that mindset. Okay. Yeah. Scary to quit your job, but you know what, you guys? Don't let anybody handcuff you. That's the bottom line. Shackles are shackles, no matter where they are. Whether you put them on yourself, which the majority of the time we do, let them go. You'll figure it out.
You will figure it out. I have made on multiple deals. The first time this happened, I basically fell to my knees. On a single deal, made my annual salary. Like, a whole year working for someone else, we put together in a single deal. And I just like pinch myself. It's unbelievable, but it's also very believable.
Yes, it's very believable. And it's, again, I agree. Unbelievable and very believable because it happens. So you had gone to the real estate meetups. You'd met other real estate investors. You said you had some paid, you got some mentorship.
Yes.
Yes, you jumped in and just did it by yourself at first. But when you're thinking of, maybe this is a thing, I better learn a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And then you took some action.
I did. The paid education actually wasn't on rental properties because I did not get serious about rental properties for still another 2 to 3 years. Unfortunately, because I look back at some of those deals that I passed on and I'm like, I wish I owned that. But the first 2 years, the education I did, it was all around wholesaling. So I was doing direct to seller marketing. I was literally on the phones, calling sellers saying, hey, do you want to sell your house? I was driving for dollars. I was taking action every single day. Even with that, even with paid education, it still took me 6 months to make any money. Not a penny for 6 months.
Okay.
Got that first wholesale deal in under my belt. It was $5,000. It felt like all the money in the world. And then I was off. I proved I could do it and was off to the races.
That's what you needed, your proof that you could do it. What's a wholesale deal for the newbies out there?
Yep. So if you're not familiar, if you've seen those like We Buy Houses billboards or that like Caveman, that's probably the best known company. But it's basically someone who will reach out to sellers or sellers reach out to us. We put the property under contract at a price and then can sell that contract at a higher price to an end buyer. So I'm basically doing the legwork to put the deal together, and then another buyer can step in and pay me to buy that deal.
And a lot of times I've bought wholesale deals where you're selling to a real estate investor who's going to buy it, rehab it.
Correct.
And do the things that you're doing now. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
So you did that first wholesale deal. Talk about your evolution in real estate investing.
Yeah. So for 2 years, like I said, I was wholesaling everything because I'm not going to lie, there was some fear behind it that you don't know when the next deal is coming. And I was afraid to put money into real estate, which I look back and that was wrong. But at the same time, I needed that. I needed the proof that not only could I build wealth through long-term rentals, because at this point, the first condo I bought, I had owned for almost 10 years. And so I've seen the equity increase. And so I knew that I could build wealth, but I didn't know I could make money. I needed to prove I could make money. And I was doing that for 2 years and I was doing pretty well.
That's a good distinction though. Build wealth and make money. Very good distinction.
Different.
Like I know my properties have this amount of value, but that's not feeding me.
Yeah.
I still got to eat. That's right. Very good distinction. Okay. So you made wholesaling for 2 years because you were so afraid to put your own money into deals, even though she still hadn't clicked, the dots hadn't connected that you already had done.
That's it. And I tell this story and I look back and I'm like, it's so obvious now. But at the time, I had no one kind of looking at this bigger picture and being like, hey, if you do this and this, you're going to be better off. So the first 2 years, just wholesaling. At that time, I was buying other properties. I just wasn't buying my own deals. I was buying off the MLS from other wholesalers. So by this point, I had acquired 11 doors. I say that I bought them all the wrong way because I was putting 20% down and I was saving up all my wholesale fees to go and put 20% down on a 4-unit or some single families. And I just didn't know how my buyers on the wholesale side were actually paying for this. I probably could have just asked them, but I never did. And so I didn't know about hard money. I didn't know about private money. I didn't know that there were lenders out there that would cover your rehab costs. I didn't know you could borrow all that money. So I was just buying everything the wrong way. I was not doing the right repairs. I was putting renters in place to these properties that I look back, I'm like super embarrassed about. And I was stuck in maintenance whack-a-mole where there'd be one problem this week and another problem the next week. It just was so draining. And
talk about that when you said you did it the wrong way, and part of that wrong way was about the financing, that you were putting your own money in 20% down. But with the whack-a-mole, because I know a lot of people out there, especially us, you're a type 2, firstborn kids, professional women, we've done so much on our own. We're used to doing it ourselves. So talk about because I worry about the whack-a-mole repairs and you're managing it yourself and you have your other job because you're not making enough money yet to feed yourself outside of your job. How did that impact you? How did you not say, this doesn't work for me? A lot of people would say that this is not the thing for me. I'm not getting a call at midnight about a toilet or whatever.
Right. Well, I will say that it took me 13 years of managing properties. We manage everything in-house. I swear by it. So 13 years to get a midnight toilet maintenance request.
Okay.
If that gives you any context. So it's not as common as you think it is.
Nope. Okay. Yeah. But you talked about the maintenance whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
What was going on then
we would just have one day the toilet's leaking, and then the next day the shower's leaking, and the next day someone has bugs, and the next day it's this and this and this. And you asked how did it impact me? It was exhausting. It was completely exhausting to the point that I actually put property management in place.
Okay.
I put property management in place and I made it about 11 months with them before I figured out that I was paying just as much money to I was spending just as much time to manage the manager. And I was it all came crashing down when they sent me a bill instead of sending me my money for that month. They sent
Okay.
me a bill. Not only do you not have any cash flow, you owe us money. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm sorry, what? And
Okay.
so I knew that that wasn't going to work. I knew that managing in house for us and most big investors that I know, like I built a property management company.
So
Essentially, I brought it all back.
what was going on? Was it that weren't rehabbing it the way you want that you're doing it now? Is that why you were having all those issues? Got it. Okay.
Yes. So we were doing all the wrong renovations. And by that, no renovations. I was doing the bare minimum. I wasn't looking at function. I wasn't looking at safety. I wasn't looking at any of the things that are now our top priorities. And because I was financing them the wrong way, I was paying all the repairs out of pocket. So I was doing it as cheap as I can.
Okay.
Whereas now the lenders that I use, they're funding my rehab. I'm not paying that out of pocket. So I'm able to do the right renovations. I'm able to upgrade the plumbing, upgrade the windows, and not, we're aiming for really 10 years of no big expenses, no like capital expenses. So I'm doing all those up front and it makes management so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably you get a tenant that's going to be happier with the place, may live there a lot longer, and a different type of tenant. One of the things that I think some of the folks that I work with worry about, and I worry about, is I'm going to air quote gentrification, where you buy a property and you upgrade it so much that the people that are in the neighborhood can't afford to live there anymore. How are you overcoming that if you are?
Well, we're not over developing anything. I am always looking at the neighborhoods where portfolio today is about 75 units and they're in 15 or so zip codes with the majority in top 5 zip codes. We own a lot of properties that are multiple on the same street. So I know my neighborhoods, I know my residents, I know, who's going to be the end user here. And I'm not over improving. I'm
Okay.
focusing on function. I'm focusing on safety. Our goal always is clean, safe, affordable housing.
Okay. Clean, safe, affordable housing.
Yeah.
Give that renter, that tenant, one less thing to worry about
Yeah.
as far as having a roof over their head, which in my last podcast, we talked about how much brain space gets opened up when you don't have to worry about your basic survival needs and how much that can affect the whole world just because one more person can now think about something other than where they live and what they eat. All right. My question, what was it? It went away. Okay. So you were talking about you were buying them the wrong way with your 20% down, your own money. You were saving your money from your job. You were taking money from your rentals. It would take longer to do it that way.
So long. Yeah.
How did you change?
So January 2021 was really, really a big, important moment in my career. And I got a mentor. I got a mentor who prior, I knew some people who would help me here and there through my meetups and local RIAs and all that, but I didn't have anyone looking at my business holistically, looking at my goals. So I got a mentor. And prior to that, I was wholesaling. I was in Airbnb. I got my real estate license. I was trying flips. I was doing all this stuff. I had my couple long-term rentals at that point. And he basically sat me down and was like, Jessie, you have to pick something. It doesn't matter which one, but you have to pick one because right now you're just going in circles and making no progress. And so it was really a pretty easy decision to pick long-term rentals because again, they like 3 had afforded me the option to quit my job and travel the world for a year. And so all I had to do and mentor helped with this was figure out how are people buying these? How are they renovating them? So that's where I figured out the BRRRR method. So
Did the mentor help you come to the long-term rental?
Yes.
Okay. Did you pay your mentor?
This was actually, okay, so we've talked about how I'm going to make things happen. He is pretty well known here in the Columbus real estate market. And it was January, beginning of the year, he put out a post on one of our like local Facebook investor groups. And he was like, hey, over the past couple of years, I've received so much support from my mentors that this year I want to give back. I'm going to mentor someone completely free of charge. For the next 12 months, we'll go to coffee once a month and I'll help you, whatever. And so he said about 40 people reached out and they were just like, hey, I'm interested, whatever. I put together a 2-page proposal about who I am, what I'm doing, where I want to go, all this. And he had a couple conversations because he's told me we're good friends now. And he's told me like, yeah, as soon as I got that, it was no brainer. I was going to pick you.
That's beautiful because while no, you didn't pay your mentor, you had paid to get to where you are to be able to have him. This person's ready to give back. And if you were just like, I'm just starting, he's like, I don't know if I have time for that. And here you were, you already had a plan, what you wanted to do, even if you weren't sure how you were going to get there.
Right.
And he could probably look at that and go, okay, I can actually help this person.
Yeah.
And efficiently get to where she's trying to go.
And I think even if I hadn't had any rentals, but the fact is I put together basically a resume and a offer letter. It's like I was applying for a job essentially. And so I put in the effort that all 39 other people did not put in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And now you got your mentor. He helped you focus.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Help me focus and figure out the BRRRR method.
Okay. BRRRR. How many R's? 4?
4 R's.
4 R's.
Yeah.
What's it stand for?
Okay. It stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat.
Okay. Buy, I say rehab, but renovate.
Yep.
Refinance. Rent. Finance, repeat. Got it. Yep. Okay.
So we're looking for properties that are distressed. They're under market value. Maybe the property itself is distressed. The seller situation is distressed. For some reason, they're willing to sell at a price low enough that gives me the ability to force the value in a very short amount of time. So we're getting through a BRRRR cycle in 4 months. If it's a bigger rehab, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
But I need to be able to force the value of that property by tens of percents, tens of thousands of dollars in a span of months. Like I believe in natural appreciation as well. Like that's just the natural increase in value. But for BRRRR to work, you have to be able to force the value as well.
Okay. And you force it by the rehab.
Yep.
Renovation.
So you
getting a rental in there.
And getting someone in at market rent. Because when we go to refinance, we're using DSCR loans, and those are based on the market rent. So What does
DSCR stand for?
Stands for debt service coverage ratio.
I was going to say, because I forget every single time.
You're right.
It means that your rent's covering your loan. That's what it means.
Correct. It's based on the rent that's coming in.
Okay. So he taught you this or helped you see it. You probably knew it, but didn't know what it was called. Just from knowing you for the little while I've known you, you were probably already going to get there. This is important because mentors help you go faster. That's the biggest thing that a mentor will do. Whether you pay them or you don't pay them, they will help you get to where you're trying to go faster. Okay. So the money part. So you learn the BRRRR, and then are you still putting your own money in? It doesn't sound like it.
So at this point, it's 2021. We are able to BRRRR most properties and actually not only pull out all of my initial investment, because I do have a down payment on the purchase. I maybe have 10, 15K into the property up front. Okay. But at the refi, I'm able to not only pay my lenders back and pay myself back. We were also pulling money out of pretty much every BRRRR property. So if you think about like just a super simple example, if you have a property that is worth, say you buy it for 100, these are Midwest numbers. If y'all don't cry if you're somewhere else.
Don't think about coastal.
These are not coastal numbers. These are Midwest numbers. If you buy it for 100, you put 40 into it. You're all in for 140, right? You go get it renovated, you put a market rate resident in place, and you get it refinanced. Now, your refi lender is going to typically give you 75% of the new appraised value. And remember, we force the value. So I'm in it for 140, say it appraises for 200. They're going to give me 75% of that, which is 150. I pay back my 140. I have 10K back into my bank account, tax-free, because it's in the form of a loan. And I have none of my own money in the deal. And I own 25% of this property because I'm only financed at 75%. And someone else is paying down that $150,000 loan by paying rent every single month.
Okay. So a couple things happened that we didn't go into. How did you decide, or how did you figure out that other people would loan you money, or that were you using banks and institutions to get your money, or were you getting it from private individuals?
At this point, I was a little still too fearful for private money, which now I love private money. It's like my favorite, but I was a little too fearful. So I was using hard money lenders, and typically there will be some down payment. They want to see some skin in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Hard money lenders are people that lend at high interest rates, and you usually pay some points. So you got to put some money down. That's your, I hate those words, skin in the game, because it always looks like road rash to me as a physician, like people's skins off their bodies. And then to be able to really make your money, you've got to be able to do it in a short amount of time, or as fast as you can. Otherwise, because you're paying interest on this loan that they've given you. It's not like a bank. It's more like a payday loan. If just to put the two together, it's not it's not quite that. I don't know the word, predatory. That's the word, but same kind of flavor as far as it's costing you to have that money.
I mean, right now the rates, we're at 1 point and 12% APR. And if I'm only holding it for 6 months, if that, I build in the cost. And to me, it's even at a high percentage rate, it's still a no brainer because I couldn't get the deal.
That's key. You're paying 12% interest on a loan. You just work it into the numbers, you guys.
Yeah.
It just, you figure out the numbers. What can I pay? How fast can I get it done? And then you go. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. It really doesn't.
It does not matter.
Yours work.
So, I mean, if it was a 20-25% loan and the numbers still worked, I would take it all day.
Because I have a lot of people say, but the interest rates are so high now. I was like, interest rates are not high. And they're thinking about even conventional interest rates. I'm like, it's not high. And okay.
Just build it in.
Build it in. Make the numbers work. And if the numbers don't work, then you don't buy the deal. That's the bottom line. I want you to go through again how you had the hard money loan, then you bought it for $100,000. Talk through that thought process. How do you decide what you're going to buy? Let's just start there.
So how do you decide? I would recommend you get pretty clear on what your buy box is. And that's just like a industry lingo for what's it, single family, multifamily, years built, areas, zip codes, property styles, exit strategies. Like, what do you buy? If you looked at my portfolio, you would immediately know my buy box because everything looks the same. Like, okay. I buy 1 or 2 bedroom, 1 baths up to 3 bedroom, 2 baths. That's it. I don't go above 1,500 square feet. Like, I don't really like big properties. They're a lot to manage. I like a real, like a 2-1 all day, every day. I would buy that. And we have so many here. And we finish them with all of the same materials, same flooring, same paint. So my portfolio is incredibly standardized. That makes management long-term so much easier.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I would say is figure out your buy box and then work with lenders that work with that type of asset class.
So you live in Columbus. I have a lot of people that I work with that are in California or some other state that this is going to be harder for it to work. What would your recommendation be for them if they want to do it themselves? They don't want to be a lender, which is where I would go with this. It's like, oh, might as well lend you money and let you do it and give me my return. But there's people out there that want to do it themselves. What do you recommend their first step should be?
First steps is get over the fact that it's probably not going to work where you live. Like, if this is really something that you want to do, why are you putting a square peg in a round hole? Like, there's a reason that people don't invest. Like, there's a reason that there's these big investment markets, right?
Yeah.
I always recommend people consider the Midwest, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, lots of Tennessee, Michigan, South Carolina. Like, there's tons of very, very strong rental markets.
Yeah.
Why are you reinventing the wheel?
So don't reinvent the wheel, first of all. And this is investing for cash flow and appreciation, not just for appreciation. And in California, a lot of it's going to be, you can invest there. You may have a negative cash flow and you're hoping for the thing to increase in value so that you can use it for retirement or sell it in 3 years and hopefully the market's good or whatever. This isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about cash flow and having after repair values that fit a loan, and it's just very different.
It's scalable.
Yes. Now, I did talk to a guy not too long ago who bought a house in Oklahoma, and he didn't have a management team. He lives in California. He didn't have a management team. I don't think he had a management strategy. He didn't know what he was going to do next. There was just when I talked to him, I was like, oh, yes, Oklahoma's a good place to buy, and you need a plan. So that have a plan, have people there. Since he had never seen the property, I actually went by to look at it, and the realtor or the person who sold to him was sending him pictures. I'm like, they're going to send you the best pictures probably. So let me go by and look at it, make sure it really looks like what they're telling you, which it did. Everything was flowing fine. It's just more of that, know where you are. It's not just about a location or a property. It's about who's going to take care of things if something goes bad. He didn't have management at that point. He didn't know a contractor who could go out there if he's going to manage it himself. So there's just some things to me that if you're going to be in a location where you can't easily get to, or you don't know anybody there, you need to know some people before you start doing the investment.
So I would recommend that you narrow down to maybe the top 3 markets that you would consider, and then you just join a ton of Facebook groups, investor groups. My real estate career is built on Facebook groups. That is maybe like really dramatic to say, but everyone I've met has been on these investor groups. And so just join a bunch from maybe the top 3 markets that you're considering. See which ones have the most friendly people and the most, post something and see who reaches out. Offer to have a digital coffee, a virtual coffee, and see who will reach out. If you do that in Columbus, you're going to have tons of people reach out because we are incredibly tight-knit real estate community. Everyone here, I'm a Texan. I don't know. And you think that you hear the Midwest is nice, and then you come and you move here and you're like, wow, even the TSA employees are nice. Like everyone is so nice. And so just find a market where it fits in and where it feels good and where it doesn't feel forced. And once you start making those connections, then you start seeing some deals come through. You're going to know who to reach out to for your real estate agent and your GC and all this, because you've already done a lot of that kind of team building.
Nice. I agree about the Midwest, and I guess Oklahoma is considered the South actually. But I went to Los Angeles, which is where my daughters live, and I flew from here, and it's like the guy like, can I put your bag up? Let me help you with your bag? Let me do this. I get to LA and I'm dragging my own suitcase down.
Yeah, like get out of here.
It is very friendly, very friendly. Okay, so how can people? So another thing I really recommend is actually people meet people like you who they can, if they don't want to do it yourself or run your own properties, but want to make money and help somebody else, not necessarily you, but a renter have a nice place to live. Because I always feel like we should have a mission when we're putting our money places. What are you looking to do? Not just make money, but in the world. What do you want? How do you want the world to be better by you putting your money somewhere? Which I think that is how you look at it. You're looking at giving somebody someplace nice to live that they don't have to think about what's going to break the next time. I've had management companies all the time, and drives me crazy, especially when I find out somebody's been living with a hole in their ceiling for the past however many months. Like, what are you doing? That's not how people should live. That's just crazy to me.
Yep. When we finally brought everything back in house, there were so many of those complaints of like, oh, we've been putting in requests and like no one's ever gotten back to us. And I'm like mortified that so we built out a company. We respond to maintenance within 24 hours. I just take a lot. And I'm a human too. And not every single maintenance request that comes in is exactly perfect, but we're pretty dang good. And we really do care a lot about my asset class. I want my asset to be good. I want my renters to be happy. I want them to stay.
So I love it. You're doing a couple things. You're helping people invest. So you have a master class, or you have a
mastermind.
Mastermind, sorry. Okay. And what else?
So the mastermind is called Rentals Made Easy, and it is basically a 6-month program that helps you get everything from establish the essentials, getting through your construction process, finding the best renter, which I'm telling you is if you're going to spend any effort, that's where you want to spend it. refinancing, really like building out the business around rentals. So that is called Rentals Made Easy. And then I also recently just launched a book by the same title. So this is basically, it's the whole program, but it's the DIY version. So you could follow through and you could learn all the mistakes that I've made. You can learn step by step everything from buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, and ongoing management. We talk about maintenance requests and collecting rent and every single thing that you need. It is very, very tangible. How to, there's not a lot of fluff. But if you want to take it one step further, the next step would be the mastermind working with me directly.
So DIY is great. It's great. You can learn how to do anything. You can learn how to take out somebody's appendix. Just read the book, right?
But please don't.
Please don't. Please don't. Somebody's going to die. Well, somebody's not going to die if you mess up a real estate deal. You're going to feel bad.
They may.
This money. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, if you don't focus on fire safety or handrail safety, my biggest career and personal fear is that something that I do would cause harm in my property to someone else. So that you actually could kill someone if you don't take it seriously enough.
And then all the stuff that comes after that, besides you feel like crap, because that happened in your property, you're going to have a lot. There's a lot of things are going to fall down after that happens.
Oh yeah.
Lots.
You're done. Yeah.
Don't think that you can't. Yes, you can do it yourself. You'll make a lot less mistakes if you have somebody walking beside you, somebody to talk to, somebody to bounce ideas off, somebody that's going to see the blind spot that you didn't see.
100%.
Just is amazing. So buy the book, if only to learn more about Jessie. So you can read her, you can understand her, because that's the biggest thing when you're going to invest. Even if you're not thinking about doing your own real estate, if you were thinking about, I can invest with her, get the book. Learn how she thinks. Learn more about her. You want to be able to talk to her like I'm talking to her, and I think you probably can. Like, okay, explain it to me. If something doesn't go well, because nobody's going to guarantee your returns, don't think that's what happens. Jessie's doing her best. Crap happens. You should be able to call Jessie when you don't get your payment and understand what happened and how it's going to get fixed. Yeah. It's huge.
So we are on Amazon in a Kindle version, or this is the paperback. If you're like me, I always like a paperback. Take notes, write it, reference. So it really is a reference book.
Perfect. Yeah. And how can they find you?
So book is on Amazon. Myself, I am on Instagram. It's Jessie Lang Official. And I actually have a little free mini course that walks through the entire BRRRR process in a whole lot more detail than we were able to get through here. So we can link that in the show notes if that's okay.
Yep, we will.
Yeah,
100% will. Perfect. This is really good. There's something else I was going to ask you and it just went away because this was really, really fun. Columbus, Ohio, lenders, DIYs. Oh, I'm on Jessie's mailing list, you guys. So I got a recent post about somebody who was about to lose. Give us a story about somebody who's actually in your mastermind now. And how
yes. So yeah, I obviously won't say names or anything, but it was someone who joined very recently, like in the last 3 weeks, and brought a deal. Every Thursday would do a deal analysis where I'm looking at student deals. We're looking at after repair values, rehab costs, pictures, things to look out for, rental comps. So he brought a deal that he's actually under contract since January, which, I mean, like that's a really long time on an off-market deal.
Depending on where you listen to this, I'm just going to give you a time frame. He's under contract since January. Jessie and I are talking at the end of April.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I did look at this a couple weeks ago. So, but still, that's almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Way too long for an off-market deal. But escrow kept getting drug out because he was getting all these inspections done. 3 professional inspections. We don't even do 1 professional inspection. My GC, like we walk it and that's my inspection. Whatever I missed, it's on me.
Yeah.
So he had 3 inspections done. And basically, like, it was just red flag after red flag after red flag, and knob and tube wiring, like needed a new roof. And this was a turnkey property.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so He had $4,000 earnest money down. And I don't tell anyone what to do, but I do tell them what I would do. And my advice was you walk away from that 4K and give yourself a pat on the back, call it a lesson learned, and you're going to end up so much further ahead than actually closing on this money pit. And I think like we all want to deal so bad that we're going to like do what we can to make it work. But sometimes you just have to know when to walk away.
You have to walk away. And I just walked away from a deal not too long ago too. And we were down the road. It wasn't 3 months. We were pretty close down the road. Everything had been negotiated and something just said, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a partner. I was like, I don't want to do it. And she kept trying to talk me into it, It was like, I don't listen to my gut enough. And this one was like, don't do this.
Screaming.
Got another property that we could buy. I was like, it just keeps saying the other one. That's all I can tell you. Just keep saying the other one.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this one? I don't know. It just keeps saying the other one.
So you didn't buy it?
Nope, we didn't buy it. We got the other one. The other one's under contract now. We're about to close on that pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's one lesson is there will always be another one. There's always another one.
There's always another property. So you guys, if you want to talk and work with Jessie, her connections are going to be in the show notes. If you want to join Wealth Builders community and talk through investing with Jessie or talk through investing with anybody, click the link to join, to come and have a conversation with me about joining our community. And let's just have some fun. Let's talk about money. Let's make this world a better place with the money we have and give people more and more opportunities. That's the bottom line for me.
I love that message.
So good. It was so nice talking to you.
Yeah,
when are you going traveling again?
Oh gosh. Okay. We're going to Alaska in July for 2 weeks, which I'm very excited about. We're taking my best friend growing up. She has 4 kids. And in October, we're taking them all on a 6-night cruise, which is going to be crazy.
Is that the Alaska cruise?
Nope, 2 separate.
Something else.
Yeah, that we're going to Central America. I don't know, wherever the cruise goes. I just get on and have fun.
I'm not planning that one. So that's fun. I'm going to Nigeria and Rwanda coming up in just a few weeks, like 18
Oh,
weeks.
awesome. That's great. What do you do while you're down there?
I'm going to relax and have a good time. And Rwanda's got a lot of business opportunities. So I'm like, I don't know. We'll just see. It's just like going to your remote year. I don't know what's going to happen. Just stay open to whatever happens, right?
I love it. I love it.
Really good. So nice to meet you. Everybody, all the connections will be in the show notes. And I will see you next week.